Your lungs are burning. Your legs feel like lead. And the relentless midday savanna sun is absolutely scorching your bare skin as you gasp for air. You have not stopped running for 3 agonizing hours, relentlessly tracking a terrified antelope that is biologically built to run much faster than you ever could. For 99% of human history, this was not an extreme marathon or a fitness test. It was simply the only way you could secure a meal. Welcome to the brutal reality of persistence hunting. A time when your ancestors did not outrun their prey. They simply weaponized sheer exhaustion. Today, if you look at your own body in the mirror, you do not exactly look like an apex predator designed to dominate the food chain. You do not have the dagger-like canine teeth of a saber-toothed cat, nor do you possess the bone-crushing jaw strength of a prehistoric cave hyena. You lack the thick armored hide of a rhinoceros, and you certainly do not have the explosive sprinting speed of a hungry cheetah. If we placed you in a prehistoric lineup against the megafauna of the Pleistocene epoch, you would look like an incredibly vulnerable, slow-moving snack. So, how did a fragile, hairless ape manage to conquer the deadliest environments on Earth and hunt down the fastest animals on the savannah? The answer is not about being the strongest or the fastest. It is about a bizarre evolutionary mismatch that turned our weakness into a superpower. To understand this, you need to step back and look at how four-legged animals, the natural sprinters of the world, actually move and breathe. When a cheetah or an antelope sprints, its breathing is mechanically tied to its stride. Every time its front legs hit the ground, its lungs compress. They can only take exactly one breath per stride. This means at top speed, they are trapped in a rigid, inflexible rhythm of oxygen intake. More importantly, these magnificent runners are covered in thick fur. They rely on panting through their mouths to release the massive heat generated by their muscles. In the cool morning, they are unstoppable. But under the blistering midday sun, their greatest biological strength becomes a fatal, ticking time bomb. So why didn't your ancient ancestors collapse alongside the prey? The first part of the answer lies in a radical anatomical shift: bipedalism. Around 6 million years ago, your lineage made a massive evolutionary gamble. They abandoned the stability of 4 legs to stand completely upright. From an evolutionary perspective, walking on 2 feet seems like a terrible idea if you want to be a successful apex predator. You lost the explosive sprinting speed that 4-legged animals use to either hunt down meals or escape from terrifying prehistoric danger. Even the absolute fastest human Olympic sprinters today would be effortlessly outpaced by a common domestic house cat over a short distance. But bipedalism was never truly about raw speed. It was a masterpiece of biological engineering designed specifically for supreme, unmatched energy efficiency over long distances. Your legs operate like an inverted pendulum. With every single step you take, your body naturally recycles kinetic energy, propelling you forward. It costs your body incredibly little caloric energy to maintain a steady, relentless walking pace for hours on end, completely unlike our other great ape cousins. In fact, when a chimpanzee tries to walk upright on 2 legs, it burns roughly 75% more energy than you do. Standing upright also solved another critical problem in the prehistoric savanna. It drastically changed how the brutal sun interacted with your body. A 4-legged animal exposes its entire broad back and torso directly to the scorching downward rays of the brutal midday solar radiation. By standing vertical, your ancestors reduced their exposed surface area by up to 60%, taking the heat exclusively on the head and shoulders. Furthermore, lifting your torso higher off the ground separated your vital organs from the intense baking heat radiating directly off the dirt. This elevated posture allowed your skin to catch slightly cooler, atmospheric breezes that simply do not reach animals closer to the ground. You became an incredibly efficient walking machine. But to literally run an antelope to death, efficiency alone was not enough. You needed a cooling system. For a cheetah or an antelope to cool down, they must stop running and pant. They cannot sprint at top speed and pant efficiently. Panting uses the exact same respiratory muscles needed for running. It is a biological bottleneck that forces them to choose between breathing and cooling. But millions of years ago, your ancestors underwent a bizarre mutation. They completely shed their thick, insulating body hair. In its place, your skin became packed with millions of eccrine sweat glands, turning your entire body surface into a highly advanced water cooling system. As you run, sweat evaporates directly off your bare skin, continuously, pulling massive amounts of deadly heat away from your internal organs. More importantly,
Your
Your
lungs
cooling
work
system is
hard,
completely
expanding to
independent of
take
your
in
breathing.
more
You can
oxygen,
sprint,
which is
jog, and
essential for a
sweat
healthy body.
simultaneously without any respiratory conflict. While the prey animal is forced into the shade to desperately pant, you can keep moving steadily under the most intense midday sun imaginable. This is the core mechanic of persistence hunting. It is a brutal game of thermal mathematics where the walking ape almost always eventually wins. Your ancestors did not need to run faster than the antelope. They just needed to keep it moving during the hottest part of the day. The terrified animal sprints away, easily putting a mile between you. It finds a shaded tree to rest and lower its rapidly boiling body temperature. But before it can fully recover, you appear on the horizon again, walking steadily, unstoppable, forcing it to sprint back into the sun. Every time it sprints, its internal temperature spikes. Because it cannot pant while running, its body begins to literally cook from the inside out. Meanwhile, your bare, sweaty skin acts like a radiator, dumping heat into the atmosphere, while your pendulum legs continue to gracefully recycle energy. But this strategy requires something no other predator has: the cognitive ability to track footprints and correctly predict where the prey is going. Your highly evolved brain allows you to follow an invisible trail, turning a simple, physical chase into a relentless, inescapable psychological nightmare for the prey. Let us reconstruct an actual persistence hunt on the blazing African savanna, exactly as your ancient ancestors would have executed it thousands of years ago. You do not sprint wildly. Instead, you lock onto a single, specific antelope in the herd, marking it as your target for the entire day. When the herd scatters in panic, your target runs away at top speed. You do not panic because you know exactly where it is heading. You settle into a slow, energy-efficient jog. Your bipedal pendulum legs effortlessly carry you forward while your sweat glands immediately begin dumping heat. The antelope finds a shady bush and desperately tries to pant to cool its boiling blood. But within minutes, you appear on the horizon. It is forced to abandon the shade and sprint again. This time, it leaves a trail of disturbed dirt and broken twigs behind it. You read the landscape like an open book. A crushed leaf, an overturned pebble, a faint footprint in the dry mud. These tell a clear story. You are actively using your massive brain to track the invisible path of the animal, running a continuous simulation of its behavior and trajectory. The hunt stretches into the second grueling hour. The midday sun is now directly overhead, radiating maximum thermal punishment onto the dry savanna floor. You take a small sip of water from an ostrich eggshell flask, a brilliant cultural invention that keeps you hydrated during the brutal marathon. The antelope, however, has no water flask. It cannot sweat, and it is losing moisture rapidly through its desperate, heavy panting under the sun. By the third hour, the gap between you and the prey is closing. The animal is stumbling, its muscles flooded with lactic acid. You maintain your terrifyingly steady jogging pace. You are not a fast predator, but you are a relentless, inescapable force of sheer endurance. The antelope stops and turns to face you. It has reached its absolute biological limit. Its internal cooling system has completely and catastrophically failed. This is the devastating climax of the persistence hunt. The animal is not defeated by your weapons, but by the relentless heat of the earth. The final kill is surprisingly anticlimactic. There is no epic, dangerous struggle between predator and prey, because the animal is completely incapacitated. You do not need razor-sharp fangs or massive claws to finish the job. A simple, dull wooden spear is more than enough. You have achieved something utterly unique in the animal kingdom. You have successfully weaponized the Earth's climate and the sun itself. But this bizarre hunting method comes with a terrifying risk. It is what evolutionary anthropologists call a massive caloric gamble. Running for 4 hours under the scorching sun burns thousands of precious calories. If you fail to catch the animal, you lose everything. Fail too many times, and your body will simply run out of energy to keep your large, extremely hungry brain functioning properly. This is why the persistence hunt is rarely a solo endeavor, because when you finally secure the meat, the real work actually begins. You must now carry a carcass that might weigh as much as you do, hauling it miles back across the dangerous savanna. Waiting for you is your tribe. In the prehistoric world, meat was almost never hoarded by the individual hunter. It was strictly shared. This massive influx of dense protein and fat was shared equally, ensuring the survival of the young, the old, and the sick. It was exactly this specific energy-dense diet that ultimately allowed your ancestors to grow the massive, energy-hungry brains you use today. But how do we actually know any of this is true? Are anthropologists simply inventing romantic action movie stories about our distant past? For decades, many scientists strongly doubted that early humans were capable of hunting large prey, assuming we were merely pathetic scavengers. Fossils can tell us about our two legs and our lack of fur. But dry bones cannot sweat, and bones certainly cannot run. To genuinely prove the persistence hunting theory, researchers had to look far beyond the fossil record. They had to find living, breathing proof. To find this living proof, researchers turned to modern hunter-gatherer societies like the Jew-Hoansi of the Kalahari Desert, studied by anthropologist Richard Borsche-Lee. In the 1960s, Lee carefully documented how these incredible people successfully survived in one of the most punishing and arid environments on Earth. He observed hunters tracking animals for miles under the blistering sun, confirming that persistence hunting was not a myth, but a daily practical reality. But how deep does this ability go in our anatomy? Evolutionary biologist Daniel Lieberman took this question directly to the structure of the human skeleton itself. Lieberman's extensive research revealed that your body is absolutely littered with highly specialized physical adaptations designed exclusively for long-distance endurance running. For example, look down at your own foot. You possess an incredibly thick, elastic Achilles tendon that acts exactly like a loaded biological spring. If you look at our closest living relatives, the chimpanzees, they completely lack this spring-like tendon, making sustained running incredibly difficult and inefficient for them. Moving up the body, you have a massive gluteus maximus, your glute muscles. Interestingly, these muscles barely activate at all when you are simply walking. However, the exact moment you break into a steady jog, these massive muscles fire up to stabilize your trunk and prevent you from falling forward. Furthermore, you have a highly specialized rubbery band in the back of your neck called the nuchal ligament, which keeps your head perfectly steady. While your body bounces violently up and down during a run, this ligament locks your skull in place, allowing your eyes to stay locked on the prey. All of these specific anatomical features, from the springy tendons to the stabilizing neck ligament, leave absolutely zero doubt in the modern scientific community. You were literally born to run. Not to sprint away from sudden danger, but to relentlessly jog your dinner into absolute biological submission. The unique combination of millions of sweat glands, efficient bipedalism, and advanced tracking intelligence formed the ultimate persistence hunting package for your ancestors. But this brilliant evolutionary triumph brings us to a very strange modern paradox. What exactly happens when a body built for marathons suddenly stops running entirely? You possess the ultimate biological engine for endurance running, yet you likely spend most of your waking hours completely motionless in a chair. Scientists call this phenomenon an evolutionary mismatch. This occurs when your ancient hunter-gatherer genes are suddenly placed inside a highly comfortable modern environment. Consider your Achilles tendon, that massive, elastic biological spring built for the savanna actually shortens and stiffens when you wear modern shoes and sit all day. And remember your gluteus maximus, the enormous muscle designed to stabilize your running. Sitting on it for 8 hours actually causes it to forget how to fire. Because your glutes become weak and lazy, your lower back is violently forced to overcompensate. This is the true evolutionary origin of your chronic back pain. But the mismatch goes far deeper than just muscles. Your brain is still hardwired to fiercely crave energy-dense sugars and fat. In the prehistoric world, this craving kept you alive during a grueling persistence hunt. Today, you can acquire those calories with zero physical effort. Without hours of running to burn the fuel, your body obediently stores it as visceral fat, preparing for a brutal winter famine that simply never arrives. Your millions of eccrine sweat glands, the ultimate biological water cooling system, are rarely pushed to their limits in our climate-controlled, air-conditioned modern lives. Even your advanced tracking intelligence suffers. The brain built to patiently calculate animal footprints across a vast landscape is now forced to track tiny digital spreadsheets. This creates massive psychological friction. Your ancient fight-or-flight response frequently activates, pumping stress hormones into your blood while you sit perfectly still. You feel anxious, restless, and exhausted because, from a purely biological perspective, you are essentially a caged endurance athlete longing for the open trail. Modern medical researchers agree that many of our chronic illnesses, from heart disease to joint pain, are fundamentally diseases of profound physical inactivity. This is not a design flaw in your anatomy. Your human body remains a breathtakingly perfect machine, precisely calibrated for a very specific task. The real tragedy is that we have engineered a highly convenient modern world that completely ignores and subtly punishes our greatest evolutionary superpower. This brings us to the ultimate twist of persistence hunting. Your physical body is incredibly impressive, but your muscles alone did not conquer the prehistoric world. Consider a hungry cheetah. It is the absolute fastest land animal on Earth, but if it misses its prey within 30 seconds, it simply gives up. Most predators live entirely in the immediate present. If an antelope completely vanishes behind a distant hill, to a cheetah, it essentially ceases to exist. But you possess an extraordinary cognitive superpower that biologists call mental time travel. You can vividly imagine a future that has not actually happened yet. When the terrified prey runs out of sight, you do not stop. You can vividly picture the cooked meat waiting for you at the end of the day. This unique ability to drastically delay gratification allows your mind to completely override the screaming agony of your burning muscles and blistered feet. You are doing something no other creature can do. You are not physically outrunning the terrified antelope, you are literally out-stubborning it through sheer psychological grit. For the animal, the chase is a terrifying, chaotic series of random sprints. But for you, it is a calculated, inevitable march toward a guaranteed dinner. Long before the animal physically dies from catastrophic heatstroke, its mind simply breaks. It realizes that no matter how fast it runs, you will always appear. This profound evolutionary stubbornness is arguably the most defining characteristic of our entire species. The exact same psychological grit used to chase down a prehistoric meal is the exact same biological willpower that eventually allowed your descendants to cross frozen oceans, build massive civilizations, and explore the stars. Your ancestors survived because they could firmly hold a distant goal in their minds and endure hours of extreme physical torture to finally achieve it. But in our highly comfortable modern world, this incredible evolutionary willpower is frequently hijacked. It is drained and completely wasted on meaningless, endless digital distractions every day. Instead of tracking a vital meal across the wild savanna, your ancient brain is now tricked into relentlessly tracking social media notifications and virtual rewards. We have trapped the ultimate endurance predator inside a quiet cubicle, feeding it empty dopamine while its powerful physical body slowly deteriorates from profound lack of use. This profound physical inactivity sends a terrifying signal to your ancient brain. It biologically interprets your sedentary lifestyle as a failed hunt or a prolonged famine. Medical anthropologists suggest this is a major root cause of modern depression and anxiety. Your body fundamentally thinks it is failing to survive because it is still. To manually fix this, we invented modern exercise. We run on spinning, treadmills, and climate-controlled rooms, staring blankly while going absolutely nowhere. But to your ancient persistence-hunting brain, a treadmill is incredibly confusing. There are no tracks to follow, no distant prey, and no psychological reward. If you want to truly reawaken the ancient apex predator dormant inside your DNA, you must actively give your brain a meaningful target to pursue. You have to physically recreate the psychology of the hunt. This means setting a difficult, long-term goal that requires immense, agonizing physical stubbornness. When you finally push yourself past the agonizing wall of pain during a long run, your brain releases a massive flood of dopamine and natural endorphins. This is not just a modern runner's high. It is the exact same chemical celebration your ancestors experienced when they successfully outlasted their exhausted prey. Your physical anatomy has barely changed over the last 300,000 years. Beneath your soft modern clothes, the ancient biological machinery remains perfectly intact. Your thick Achilles tendon is still waiting to act as a powerful, elastic spring to efficiently propel you across the dusty, open plains. Your massive glute muscles are simply lying dormant, waiting for the exact moment you break into a steady, relentless jog to proudly stabilize your spine. And your millions of tiny sweat glands are fully prepared to aggressively dump heat, allowing you to survive thermal conditions that would kill other mammals. You are definitely not a fragile, weak creature meant to sit quietly under artificial fluorescent lights. You are an absolute apex predator of endurance. You belong to a lineage of incredibly stubborn, hairless apes that looked at the fastest, deadliest animals on the planet and simply decided to outwalk them. All you really have to do to unlock this ancient evolutionary inheritance is step outside, pick a distant point on the horizon, and just start moving. When you push your body to run, you are not just exercising. You are actively participating in an ancient ritual that literally made us human. Your modern anxieties, those phantom stresses of the office, slowly begin to melt away as your biological systems synchronize perfectly for the long chase. Your massive glute muscles immediately fire up, proudly stabilizing your upright torso exactly as they were brilliantly engineered to do millions of years ago. That stiff Achilles tendon suddenly remembers its true purpose, powerfully expanding and contracting like a highly efficient, elastic biological spring with every single stride. Your millions of eccrine sweat glands finally get to do their ultimate job, rapidly dumping heat into the atmosphere to keep your core perfectly chilled. And your incredibly complex brain, previously starved of meaningful physical pursuit, finally receives that massive, authentic flood of dopamine it has been desperately craving. In that exact moment, you are no longer a tired modern worker trapped in a cubicle. You are a persistence hunter reclaiming your rightful place. Our ancestors survived not because they possessed the sharpest claws or the thickest armor, but simply because they stubbornly refused to ever stop moving forward. This relentless, terrifying physical endurance is permanently written into every single strand of your DNA. It is the defining, undeniable legacy of our entire species. So the very next time you feel completely overwhelmed by the artificial, suffocating pressures of our highly engineered modern digital society, please just remember this. Remember the millions of years of brutal evolution that carefully and deliberately sculpted your physical body into the ultimate marathon machine of the ancient world. All it takes to completely shatter your invisible modern cage is to lace up your shoes, step outside, and simply start running on the trail. And when you push yourself hard enough to finally hit that wall of exhaustion, the modern world fades away and your primal instinct completely takes over. Your lungs are burning, your legs feel like lead, and the midday sun is absolutely scorching your bare skin as you gasp for air. But this time, you are not desperately struggling to survive the harsh African savanna. For the first time all day, you are finally feeling alive.